are bigger events in the city tonight. No. Bounced me out of Barnes & Noble in Union Square. I think we've done better. He's a diarist. I don't think he's a diarist. Reagan's a diarist. He kept his diary.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wasn't sure how much diary for an American form or a very English form. One of my favourite diaries is Virginia Woolf's diary. And she says about it something quite astute, which is you keep a diary to make yourself feel better about yourself. There's a certain amount of truth in that. I started this diary in 1969. Not particularly because of Monty Python, actually, I just quit smoking. Incredibly feeling of, willpower to triumph there, really kick this thing. So what can I do now? I have this surge of willpower. Keep a diary. I always wanted to keep a diary. Yes, I'll write a diary every morning. So I started with the diary. It really started off about my children, just starting a family, and and then about sort of 2 months or a month into the diary, he rings me up, and it's the start of the consultation that we need to do Monty Python. And of course, in the next 10 years, really Python extended stage. But the diaries are about many things. They are about my family, about them growing up, they're about life in London during that time, about what happened politically. So it's not just Monty Python. And I thought rather than just describe what the diary is, I would do some reading for you. As I say, it started in 1969, then to 1979. I think I'm the same person at the end as I was at the beginning, but I'm in a rather different place. Because in 1969, when the diaries begin, I was just another writer. I've been writing with Terry Jones. I've done a series called Do Not Just Your Set, where they're live in London. But, we didn't know whether we were going to make a living out of writing, how successful it was going to be or not. They were sort of difficult, quite sort of wary times. I did any ads, anything that was offered. I would do just to make money at that time. I was married 3 years, just had our first child, about 6 months old. And by the end, Monty Python had reproduced Life of Brian, sort of international. People were talking about Hollywood and all these things and lots of numbers and all that, which never turned out to be quite true. But I would say that was in a different place. So if you'll excuse me while I find out this little sort of tag in my book here, I'll just read you a sort of selection of entries which I think cover the period and hopefully give a flavour of the diary. You may find it, those who really love Python may find it frustrating that the early sketches are not described in detail, how we thought about them, how they were cast, all that sort of thing. Because again, at the time, the great thing about diaries was no hindsight. Now I would have thought that every single scrap of information horse jockey is wearing it. One of those days. I didn't want to go into all that, but I would have done if I had hindsight. So this is just what you have to remember. This is what I wrote at the time. They're imperfect, they're rushed to judgment, they're intemperate, they're inconstant, but they are what I wrote, what I felt at the time. And just the first one I'm going to read you is from Wednesday, May the 13th in Torquay. We'd gone there to do Monty Python filming for, I think, the first series. And we stayed in a hotel called Glen Eagle, where the man who ran it was so rude. He's sort of guy you'd say in the morning, because we have an early morning call. Early morning? How early? 7:15. 7:15. I remember we sat at the table and we finished our meal, and Terry Gilliam was as usual talking while he was eating and all that. And the man just came in, leant across the table, put the cutlery together and said, in England, we use our cutlery like that. We just couldn't bear it. Terry, myself, and Graham left. John stayed on, of course, immortalised the man. Anyway, the next day, it was very funny because Graham, myself, and Terry went round to a hotel called the Osborne. It was slightly upmarket from where we were. And we went in, and it was for a long time reception. And someone else said, yeah. She said, you come about the vacancy. For what? The kitchen? No, we can't. We moved that one. We went in the end to a place called the Imperial Hotel. It was very expensive. I thought that would be all right. So my first entry is gives you an idea of what the important thing was. It's Wednesday, May the 13th. Talkie. After breakfast, Terry went off to film the rubbish dump piece of Jean-Luc Godard's Cine Verite involving an exploding lettuce. Graham and I, in leisurely fashion, paid our bill, drove round the Imperial. Here we spent what was rated one of the most luxurious, effortlessly pleasant mornings of my life. We lay in the sun beside a beautiful heated seawater pool and had gin and tonics brought to us. After a swim and drinks and sunshine, we went to the restaurant where we ate a most excellent meal accompanied by a half bottle of Merceau. After that, we drank Grand Marnier and I smoked a cigar in the lounge. And jealousy, not a cigar. I hope I never get used to that way of life. I hope I can always enjoy self-indulgence as much as I enjoyed it that first sunny, perfect morning at the Imperial. We drove out to the location and spent the rest of the afternoon playing football dressed as gynecologists. Just so my kids have a little mention here. Tom and Will, my daughter Rachel, hadn't been born. Tom must have been about 4, Will was about 2, and this is my mother-in-law's. Stricken during the night with a strange malaise of the bowels. Spent from about 10 to 3 until 6 o'clock on the lavatory, reading much of Norman Collins' London Belongs to Me. Mother-in-law had by the lavatory. Thomas is fascinating. He keeps coming up to see if I'm all right, bringing me Lego, finding some medicine for me, talking ever so sweetly and politely. Gradually, the visits become more frequent. He brings Willie along with him. A plate of 4 thin pieces of toast, all I wanted for lunch, had only 2 left on it by the time Thomas had brought it upstairs. Around 2 o'clock, both he and William ended up in my sick bed listening to stories, so I decided I was no longer ill and got up around 3 o'clock. Anyway, then the next thing that really happened, the first series of Python took place, the second and third. We kept breaking up. Part of the theme of this is how sort of insecure we were about the future of Python. Recording on this. That's the end. We can't carry on like this. But we did keep carrying on. We staggered on, and in 1974 made the transition, which is unusual for any comedy group, certainly in England, to make transition from television to movies. And we decided to write Once Fighting the Holy Grail. It was made on a budget of about like $350,000, which is highly. Some of the money was put up by Led Zeppelin, some by Pink Floyd. Mean bastards, then we put up. There we are. We're in Scotland, April the 10th, April the 30th, Ballahoosh. First day of filming, woken at 6:45, sunshine streaming through the curtains, into chainmail and Red Cross Tavern. Difficult day ahead. The bridge of death scene where Eric and I died, was arrested by the police. It just seems like when you die at the end of the movie first. No chance getting your character. Difficult decision over Galahad's blonde wig. Instead of noble and youthful, I look like I should be serving in a supermarket. End of Galahad of the blonde. Such is the economy on this film, but not only do the actors have a minibus rather than cars to go to the location, they also have to drive it. John Lancelot and I, Galahad, driving up through Glencoe in a budget rent-a-van in full chainmail. Traveled up the gorge of eternal peril. This took about 15 minutes of hard climbing. Camera broke midway through first shot. The day is hastily rearranged, and from having been busy but organised, it's now busy and disorganised. The sun disappeared. John Horton leads the special effects man. John Horton's smoke bombs and flames worked superbly. Graham, as King Arthur, got vertigo and couldn't go across the bridge. He spent the day rather unhappily cold and shaky. Eric and I and John sat around listening to stories from the mountain rescue boys about how many people perish on these mountains. 5 or 6 dead. Enjoy the sight of Hamish McInnes, head of mountain rescue in Glencoe, flinging rubber corpses of knives into the gorge. More terrifying ledges to climb around on tomorrow. I hope Gray's okay. Back at the hotel at 8:30, the large bells were gone. Couldn't really face the 4-course hotel meal.